A lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV and seeing what folks have to say about a number of these stories. And of course, later on, we'll be having the Ukraine show as well. But I've got my friend Rick Rosner, and I know that there are folks that are talking about what's going on with the threat of Oman and all along those lines, because apparently the president is still threatening Oman. And of course, we've got stuff going on with the price of gas continue to go up. There are some people speculating it could get up to as high as $5 a gallon and all along those lines. And I'll get to some other news stories and we'll see what other folks join us, if any, and all along those lines. But we've actually got a big event at the Hayti Heritage Center that's sold out. That's about 350, 375 people. That will be for the speaker, Ta-Nehisi Coates. So he'll be appearing on tomorrow afternoon. So that's why I was running a little late. We were having a meeting just to make sure that security was in place and all along those lines, because he is a figure that is noted and everything like that. And it's one of the second noted figures, because we also had Bakari Sellers in about a month or a month and a half ago. So we're definitely getting some folks in and all along those lines. So definitely that's part of what was going on. Was I was in our weekly staff meeting, and it went a little bit longer than I was expecting. So how are you doing, Rick? And how are things going?
I'm okay. I'm barely awake. I got no pants on. I'm not going to show you that.
Don't show me
Um,
that.
this is day 108 of gas national average being more than $4 a gallon under second term Trump. Biden had 154 days of gas over $4 a gallon, and he had several days, maybe 1 week, of gas being over $5 a gallon. So Trump is emptying out the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's down to 293 million gallons, the lowest level since December 1982, shortly after it was first created. These are caverns filled with oil to get us through times of crisis, which I guess we're in one when it comes to Trump is desperately trying to keep oil prices, gas prices down with 77 days, 11 weeks until the midterms. In some places, early voting, 4 or 5 states, starts in just 5 weeks. And, people are not super thrilled with prices. Today
Yeah,
is
that could
the
definitely be.
100. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I
Today
said
is the
that
100.
definitely be anything.
Today is the 106th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, giving women the right to vote in 1920. And of course, X, formerly Twitter, which Elon Musk has made a great place for a bunch of horrible dickheads to hang out. There are dickheads saying that it should be repealed.
And there's a lot of people with the voting that are saying that some of the voting new laws will make it harder for women to vote, because I know that there
Well,
are.
they can't get that law passed. That's the SAVE Act.
Right.
And if you took your husband's name when you got married, if the SAVE Act passes, well, there's no chance at this point. For one thing, the Senate is on recess till August 31st. And even if they did manage to pass it, and they haven't, because it's it doesn't do what it claims to do. It is voter suppression.
Yeah, that's totally correct.
And even if it passed, the courts would shoot it down because it's not constitutional. And with only 2.5 months until the election, it's not enforceable for the midterms. The people don't have enough time to get the ID that they need. You need a passport, or you need to show up with your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, and other documents that prove you are who you are. Just because you took your husband's last name when you got married, which applies to 21 million American women. So it's a bullshit act. It hasn't passed. It can't pass. And even if it did pass, it wouldn't be enforceable for the midterms.
we're not being enforceable at all and everything along those lines. By the way, another story that I'm seeing is apparently the South Korean president is calling for military independence in wake of Trump's call to cut joint drills, because he definitely wants to cut joint drills with that particular country. So I guess they want to have their own military that is more independent of the U.S. because right now
the U.S. under Trump has become an unreliable partner in mutual defense. Trump has also pulled the only aircraft carrier from that part of the Pacific where it could be brought in case China or North Korea does something threatening, because the Abraham Lincoln's been out to sea for 30 weeks.
Yeah, it's been at the sea for a while and everything. And I see a couple of countries are complaining about their economics because Colombia just had a major catastrophe, and they're saying that they face deeper hardship after the earthquake. The Colombia president is pegging the earthquake losses at $9.6 billion. And they did get a surprise because Corey made a surprise visit to the earthquake damaged Colombia and committed to building new schools. So this is the world famous singer Shakira, and all along those lines. So she is committed to building new schools. But in another part of the world, Israel, they're saying that Israel's financial chokehold is stifling the West Bank economy. So Israel's pressure on the West Bank has sent the occupied territory to the brink of financial collapse as severe restrictions have touched every part of daily life and caused an economic crisis. So it seems like their economic crisis is throughout the world. I'm sure there's some in Ukraine and Russia.
So just to clarify, Israel's run by Netanyahu, which is Israel's Trump, and he's in an alliance with some of the worst right-wing political parties in Israel, and they have been trying to squash the Palestinians who've lived in East Jerusalem and the West Bank. The West Bank is confusing because it's the West Bank of the Jordan River, which is the eastern border of Israel. So the West Bank is actually East Israel, where Palestinians, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of them have lived for hundreds, thousands of years, and right-wing Israeli settlers go in there and they do their best to drive the Palestinians out, and the Israeli government looks the other way for this kind of bullshit.
Yeah, they look the other way. And speaking of the other way, it looks like we do have
also Israel has its own elections in October, like a week before ours, and the last time I saw, Netanyahu was trailing in the polls, but their politics doesn't work the way ours does, where nobody gets a majority, and you have to form alliances. So Netanyahu can,
government, if I remember correctly,
Netanyahu can do badly in the election, but if he does well enough, he can team up with some other jerky political parties, and together they can form a ruling coalition.
Right. And it looks like Jared Kushner is meeting with Netanyahu on the Gaza peace plan. So he's been over there in Israel. But we do have another election that took place in another country, and it looks like the incumbent won. So in Zambia, the president Hakainde Hichilema won his second term, even though there's cost of living pressures that are there as well. But they say that did not dent his support, and his main rival is in hiding over alleged threats. So apparently there were alleged threats on his main rival, but he did win election and everything like that. So he'll get a second term, however long those terms are. And
there's another Kushner in the news. Yes. Jared Kushner's brother, Josh,
who bought
the Lakers. And the former owners, since 1979, the Buss family has owned the Lakers until a couple of years ago when they sold it off to the owner of the Dodgers, who's now under investigation for financial improprieties and is selling off some of his assets to cover his ass. But the Buss family, led by Jeannie Buss, still owns 17.8% of the Lakers. She has, I think, 5 brothers. You can see this whole thing as a sitcom. There is a sitcom starring Kate Hudson called Running Point, which is a sitcom based on reality about Jeannie Buss running the Lakers with her brothers.
Right.
So, in real life, her brothers tried, four of her brothers tried to team up to sell the remaining 18% of the Lakers that they still own for about $2 billion. Jeannie Buss is now fighting them with lawyers. And this is Jared Kushner's brother, who everybody says is less of a jerk than Jared Kushner.
Yeah, we'll see. And apparently, there's some people that are upset that he has bought the Lakers because they're saying that's like Trump buying the Lakers and everything like that. So there are some people
Well,
that are
he's
saying that they may not be fans any longer and they may leave that team because of the Kushner involvement.
I don't know how Josh Kushner, the brother, leans politically. I know he's got to be less Trumpy than his brother, but I don't know. But anyway,
who knows? I didn't know that. I saw that on Twitter and other places. I did see that the USS Benfold left Japan after returning from a power failure repairs and everything like that. So apparently they lost power for 4 days in South China Sea. And I know sometimes on even like the economic show, we talk about the state of our military readiness. And we've got the thing with the boat that's over there in the Middle East. And now we've got the USS Benfold that was stalled in the South China Sea.
Well, it's pretty crazy that the U.S. military gets $1 trillion a year, which is more than the next 7-8 countries combined, and yet our ships are in crappy condition. Where is that now? Sasha will tell you it's money laundering, right?
Yes, I have a lot of problems with this. Now it's not trillion dollars; it's now going to be $1.5 trillion. And why would you pay for a military that cannot win any wars in the last 50, 60 years or so? Why would you pump money into that type of military? Why do you need it at all? And if it cannot win wars, you don't need that type of military at all. You need nothing but defend borders against Canada and Mexico. That would require a minimum expenditures, and that's it. What are you looking at Middle East or anywhere?
Sasha, speaking of expenditures, because I'm seeing another story, and this is right up your alley and everything like that. Russia is barely holding on. It's not winning the war in Ukraine, but they're shipping explosives to Iran to bolster their missile and drone arsenal in the war against the U.S. Don't they have enough troubles with Ukraine that they don't need to be shipping weapons to other places? Because they're saying Russia has started supplying explosives to Iran to replenish Iran's weapons stock. But I'm thinking that they ain't got that many weapons themselves, and they're in a war against Ukraine. So please explain this to me as one that used to be in the Russian army, even though definitely Ukraine is holding their own and definitely winning the battle. But why is Russia shipping stuff to Iran? I know it's an ally, but they need those weapons for themselves, don't they?
The problem is that Russia, China, and Iran, they're waging a global war against the U.S. and its interests. So they devote everything what they have available to this goal, to have disabled U.S. as a world power, to bring it to its knees, or continue to spend enormously so much money to deal with all kinds of Russian threats or maneuvers and everything else, that they will get tired of it and say, please leave us alone. We are not going to fight anywhere. We are going to back home. Please leave us alone. Don't touch us. That's a goal, and that's why Iran, by the way, is waging now a complete war against the United States. They want to attack United States vessels and army and allies. And what can you do about it? Your warships are They are infested with cockroaches. They don't have normal food for the soldiers or so on. It's a total disaster just to get out of there, out of everywhere. He's threatening Trump, I'm talking about. He's threatening Europeans. I don't want to defend you against Russia. No, you're not paying your fare. And all that nonsense. So he doesn't want to defend its allies in NATO, in Europe, yet he's fighting absolutely hopeless war in Iran. And in my information, Iran is preparing absolutely total attack against U.S. and its assets and its so-called allies. I don't believe that U.S. has any allies in the Gulf, because all these countries are dreaming that U.S. will leave them alone, get all these bases out of there, because U.S. cannot defend even their own bases. So how they can defeat Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and others? No, they don't need such a defense. Out, please.
Yep, definitely saying out and everything along those lines. So we'll see how this plays out. Hey, Rick, I see that the environment is a major issue. It's even a major issue around the world because apparently there's a $12 billion war chest that is the UN needs to figure out how to spend because they were having a decertification summit as it mulls how to spend this war chest, and the EU is calling for global action to make land and water more resilient because drought and desertification or desertification is intensifying around the world. So what's your take on this? Because apparently the world is becoming hotter and it's definitely
Sorry, I'm especially in the mornings, we're in the flight, in the takeoff path of Burbank Airport, and so planes fly over and it's loud. So who's got this $12 million war chest to fight desertification?
The UN is fighting the desertification as well as these world drought because
yeah, well, 12 million is not going to be enough to do anything, but okay. And yeah, we're going to up to 1 billion people in the next 50 years are going to be displaced by climate change. So yeah, I mean, stuff is coming. I just read, I thought it was the glaciers and the ice caps melting that raises sea level. That's only part of it. It turns out when water gets hotter, it also gets puffier. It expands a little bit. So part of it is that you don't need to have ice melt into the water to have sea levels rise. You can get sea level rise just from water being hotter. Which is bad for people who live along beaches.
And I see we've got a couple of primaries as well. I don't think any of these primaries are in Democratic strongholds because I don't think of Florida, Wyoming, and Alaska as being Democratic.
Right, plus you have one election in California to replace the disgraced Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell.
Right.
Swalwell was a rising star for the Democrats, but it turns out he's a kind of a sexual predator, a horn dog. And he turns out back in, 2015, 2012, he banged a Chinese spy named Fang Fang. Now, the Republicans have been accusing him of this for 10 years. And the Democrats, such as myself, are like, that's just bullshit. As soon as he found out she was a spy, he cut off all contact with her, which remains true, but still, he did bang her. It came out conclusively when she showed up at his door one night, not wearing underwear.
Oh, wow. It looks like we've got another case of somebody trying to go back to a past charge because the Department of Justice apparently is asking the court to reinstate charges against the mistakenly deported man, Kilmore Abrego Garcia. So apparently they're not through with him and they want him to be back on charges again and everything like that.
So this is a guy deported by ICE
Right.
In error. And in order to cover their error, ICE, the Justice Department, keeps trying to charge him with bullshit charges. Even though Trump is at his lowest approval levels ever as president, he keeps barreling forward as if he has a mandate to keep being a dickhead. And that's part of, he has not effectively limited ICE's shittiness. They got allocated $20 million to buy shock taser gloves, right? You grab somebody with these gloves and it drops them to the ground with an electric shock. Why do they need that?
They don't need that at all and everything like that. Hey, Jacoby, is this brother from Florida going to win the governorship? Because it looks like he is, I guess, a leading contender, and I know he's a big-time supporter of Mr. Trump and everything like that, President Trump. So what's our thoughts around this conservative black Republican and his chance to be governor over there in the state of Florida?
You mean Byron Donald?
That's the one.
Byron Donald, he's the same dude who said that black people were better during Jim Crow. So, I mean, MAGA will vote for him because, racism sells. But, I mean, he may win. All I know is, he's a horrible individual.
I mean, so I don't know who to cheer for in this Republican primary because you want the most horrible person to win so they lose in the general election. Is that Byron Donalds?
I'm not a fan of the worst person winning, and that makes it easier. I'm not a fan of that because what ends up happening is what happens if the worst person does win.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not a fan of that.
Byron Donalds is a pretty bad guy.
Byron Donalds is horrible. He's a horrible dude.
He's dumb. He's engaged in. He was like a drug dealer kind of for a while. He's engaged in charter school malfeasance with his wife. He gets up to all sorts of no good.
So speaking of
he's definitely not a good guy. But again, he wants to be the hand-picked one, and he keeps, as much as he, defends Trump no matter what. And like I said, he's the one who said black people were better during the Jim Crow time.
Just can't believe that anybody would say that and everything like that. Hey, Rick, when you were in school, were you involved in, I know I had a roommate that was involved in the space and everything like that. It was not my thing to be involved in, but apparently drugs are still big on the campuses, and a major university, Penn State, one of their fraternities is now being busted for a cocaine trafficking ring and everything like that apparently is tied to the fraternity. So 14 have been charged in this particular case. So,
when I was in college, the first bar I ever was a doorman at was a cocaine bar. It was like there were so many people I worked with who were doing and dealing huge amounts of coke. And I don't know if you've ever been around people on coke, but they are super annoying. They stay up all night and they tell the same story 3 times in a night so I was staying up till my girlfriend was my manager at this bar, and so I'd end up staying up till 5 a.m. with these guys like gacked out on coke, and I hated it. And like they go in the manager's office to do coke, so eventually I took a chair and I just busted down the door so the door wasn't there anymore. Because I didn't want people doing coke in the office anymore. Because I got in trouble. I had to go buy a new door. But I was around a lot of coke in college.
Yeah, there's a lot of coke during that time and everything like that. apparently
Well, this
the
was
senator-
Boulder in the 1980s. Boulder was famous nationally for being the Coke capital of America, and it was interesting, but it was super annoying.
Yeah,
There was one guy who he got hit by a truck, and he got a $40,000 settlement, and he was using the $40,000 to try to become a Coke dealer, but he was doing too much of his own Coke, and he was shaking so much. You know, you take cocaine and you cut it with other stuff like baby laxative to make more Coke. So you cut it so you could, and he was shaking so hard he couldn't do the adding the baby laxative. So for a while I was adding the baby laxative for the Coke and making these little quarter-gram packages. It was a stupid time. I've done a lot of stupid stuff in my life. That was just one, anyway. Let's go on to more news instead of talking about the 80s.
Yesterday, the memorandum of understanding between Iran and the United States
still has an Alzheimer's disease program. Yeah, go ahead.
Go.
Mark?
No, what were you saying, Sasha? Go ahead. Yeah, what were you saying, Sasha?
Okay, I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yesterday, the memorandum of understanding between Iran and the United States has expired yesterday. There is no memorandum anymore. There is all-out war, and there is nothing to suggest that Strait of Hormuz could be reopened anytime soon. So where the United States get, let's see, on February 27th, a day before invasion, the Strait of Hormuz was open, and it would continue to be open all that time. So, what's happening now? The Strait of Hormuz is closed now for some time, actually for a long time, basically, and U.S. has not achieved any of its goals, any.
And Kim has some questions for you. She's asking, will Trump really use the nuclear bomb on Iran? And she wants to know specifically from you, what is Canada's position with the tariff negotiations and all
Okay. The tariff negotiations, tomorrow is the deadline, I believe, at midnight. And since apparently no deal is expected because of the stubbornness of U.S. position. And Canada cannot accept 50% tariffs on its aluminum and cement and many other things. So economy of both sides will suffer as a result of it. And probably very soon there will be a new round. However, I don't believe that while Republicans control the House and Senate, there is no need for any further negotiations, most likely. So it will be only after the midterm election, one way or another. Now, speaking about if U.S. can use nuclear bomb against Iran,
right.
Of course it can, but it doesn't have guts. It's not going to happen.
Well, Trump isn't crazy enough to do that yet. There's this big island, Karg Island, where 90% of the oil is refined in Iran, and he could take that out, but it wouldn't take a nuke. It's an island that's covered with petroleum. So all he needs, the U.S. has giant bombs. We have bombs that weigh up to what, 20,000 pounds, conventional explosives. You don't need to drop a nuke on Karg Island. You could destroy the island with conventional weapons. And even Trump, in his increasing dementia, isn't nuts enough to use a nuke yet.
So
right, Sasha?
Yeah, I agree. He's not going to do it. Also, it's quite unclear actually what would be effect of the nukes. It's very complicated terrain. People will be hiding, and beside the radioactive elements, so they will harm more Iranians. But this is completely anti-human action with very little results positive for the United States.
And if Trump did use it, I don't know if the generals would go along with him. But if he did manage to get that would be might trigger the 25th Amendment. And maybe, I don't know, or that people would say, well, now he's super dangerous. We have to kick him out of office. The 25th Amendment lets the cabinet if 2/3 of the cabinet thinks the president is a danger or cannot do his job, they can vote to remove him.
Well, and also don't forget that his cabinet is still support Trump all the way. They're like criminals who are tied all together, supporting and helping each other because they know, and Democrats already announced that the first thing what they will do if and when in power is impeach, starting from Trump, all his cabinet, and all those people, they will become responsible in a big way. So they're all praying that somehow.
Yeah. So speaking of his,
one of the things that we keep, Trump jumped into this because Netanyahu pushed him into it. Plus, he thought it was going to be easy, glory, and everything else. But now the escape part, taking out Karg Island, as I told David yesterday, the Iranians still have they have a card to play as well. So you take out Karg Island, who else gets hit? That's going to take out a lot of people out in the Middle East. That's also going to close up the strait, and you also have the other strait that is also used. So that's going to close up the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea, the Red Sea, and that's going to close up the strait. So now you're going to have a worse situation than we are in. You drop a nuke on them, that's not going to work as well because guess who else wants to drop a nuke? Russia, China, these other places. So that's going to open up a nuclear war across the globe. I mean, it's just strategically this has to be a Vietnam situation of pulling out, creating some deal.
Duh.
Okay, well, you're going to have to, it's going to be a toll road now. And that's what's going to end up happening with the strait is it's going to be a toll road. Just because this idiot in office decided that, hey, just as he said he was saying when in that press conference about Oman, they will have to behave. That's his belief, is that everybody is beneath him. So the idea of negotiating is not really in him. This great negotiator and all this stuff was never in him. The art of the deal was never in him. That wasn't even him writing the book. It was somebody that wrote a book about him.
And I don't think that he ever read this book.
Exactly. He never read it. So all this stuff, all these things that we're thinking about are all fictional because this idiot doesn't know what he's doing. And he has a drunk dude with a Nazi tattoo heading up the military.
That drunk dude, Hegseth, has gone to Iowa to campaign with Trump, making people wonder if Hegseth is going to try to run for president. You shouldn't have a Secretary of War engaging in politics, but this hasn't stopped Trump's cabinet. Kash Patel has shown up at campaign events. This is the head of the FBI. It's really, I mean, it's unprecedented and it's shitty. And also Hegseth is an incompetent jerk who's even less popular than Trump. He's deluded if he thinks he can get anywhere running for president.
Hey, Rick, speaking of not popular and everything like that, apparently one of the things that's going on in the White House and in D.C. is there are a number of programs that have a lot of money, but they have like hardly no staff. So there was an article earlier today that says the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention still has an Alzheimer's disease program. Congress appropriated $41 million to it this year. There's just no one staffing it. Then there's the agency's Office on Smoking and Health. Congress allocated $246 million for that. Its staffers were cut too. And the same for the epilepsy program, its sickle cell disease data collection operation, and its rape prevention unit. So they're calling these their CDCs.
Okay, so RFK Jr. is maybe the craziest member of Trump's cabinet. He doesn't believe in germs. He takes his family swimming in sewage-contaminated rivers. He collects a raccoon penis. He picks up like a dead bear cub off the highway because he wants to take it home and study it, and then ends up like ditching it in Central Park in New York City. He's a crazy guy. This is very frustrating for me because I'm 66 years old. I'm looking for medicine to move forward, to keep me alive longer, because I'm an old guy. And Trump, by installing assholes who've destroyed a lot of U.S. science, is costing me opportunities for new medicine. And yeah, it frickin' sucks.
It totally sucks because that's definitely.
You know, I don't know if I'm in line for Alzheimer's, but my dad got Parkinson's, my grandpa got Parkinson's in their 80s, and so I want treatments for Parkinson's because there's a 9% chance based on heredity that I'm going to get fucking Parkinson's. And you know, all this, our whole science enterprise in the U.S. it has been kicked in the nuts.
Well, speaking of things being kicked in the nuts and all along those lines, I have another story for you, Rick, and everything like that. But apparently this just came down as well. Disney-owned ABC has filed a First Amendment lawsuit against the FCC. So as one that's in that whole space of a law and everything like that, what is our take on this lawsuit that is going on with the FCC?
The First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech, including freedom of the press. ABC's been getting in trouble because Jimmy Kimmel does 4 shows a week, and each night he kind of summarizes what Trump's been up to and makes fun of him because every day Trump does crazy, crappy stuff. Trump hates this, so he's sick Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, and a big member of Project 2025, which is the Heritage Foundation's project to turn America into the Handmaid's Tale. So yeah, the FCC has been going after ABC. This is ABC firing back.
Yep. Looks like that's definitely something to go
Last
on.
night, during the summer, talk shows often have guest hosts. And last night, the guest host of Kimmel was Rosie O'Donnell, who has been feuding with Trump for 20 years. She used to have a talk show from 96 through 2002, an afternoon talk show. And I think she was calling out Trump for being an asshole even back then. And so it's a provocation to make Rosie the guest host at Kimmel. But I think it's a necessary provocation. The president shouldn't get to push people around.
Well, speaking of pushing people around and everything like that, and I'd love to hear Jacoby's thoughts around this story that I just saw and everything like that. But there has been a lot of conversation, and we've been talking about it on this network, about AI and the possibility of AI. But apparently there was an article that was recently published about a young lady that committed suicide, and apparently she told no one about her agony except ChatGPT. So people are asking, what does this reveal about the nature of AI? And
there's pretty big news about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is on all the news channels with a PR push because OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, has introduced ChatGPT for Teens, which is supposedly a safer version of ChatGPT. It's that you can limit your kids' hours talking with ChatGPT, tune it so you can basically use it mostly for studying
Yeah,
instead
but I
of.
think the question I've got for everybody on this panel is apparently in this particular case, they're saying that the mother of this lady that committed suicide and everything didn't know that her daughter had been sharing all her inner struggles with an artificial intelligence chatbot, a chat GPT therapist named Harry. She learned
So
this
part of, yeah,
later when her daughter's best friend visited Ithaca and asked to see her laptop and found this month-long trove of communications with this chatbot.
so chat GPT not being human, not having consciousness, doesn't can be talked into reinforcing dangerous behavior like suicidal behavior. Like if you can nudge chat GPT into helping you plan your suicide. Now there are probably better controls than during than after these suicides. But one thing Chat GPT is trying to do is tell the teens more persuasively that they're not talking to a human. Because I guess it's not clear to teens and also a ton of adults.
Yeah, it looks like adults as well because it says that a recent survey by the Bipartisan Policy Center found that 3 in 10 adults use digital tools for mental health, including chatbots, and another 2026 study in JAMA Pediatrics found that as many as 1 in 5 teens and young adults do the same. So it does look like they're using both ChatGPT and Claude to get some advice.
When you become you go to school for years to become a therapist, not just college, but post grad, years and years, and then you are like an apprentice. You learn all sorts of ethical boundaries. You can't bang your patients. You can't you reinforce suicidal behavior. ChatGPT hasn't had any of that. It's not a person. It can't have courses in ethics. You can program. You can teach. You can do machine learning to maybe put in some guardrails, but a persistent or clever person can break through those guardrails.
Yep, definitely can break through those guardrails. Kim was saying that social media has been trained to take down people who are successful in sharing negative about Trump, but she also was saying that AI has adapted the ability to act as if it has sympathy and everything like that. So definitely that's something that is going on in that way. Hey, I see some good news from my town of Durham that I didn't realize we had a professional softball team, but apparently they brought $6 million to the city of Durham in their first season. So I'll have to go there and check one of their games out and all along those lines. So it's good to know that they are sports that are bringing impacting the economy of various cities, whether it's in Durham, whether it's in Shanghai, or whether it's in a number of other places as well. So sports can be a driver of the economy and all along those lines. What's going on in your part of the world, Rick, and what are some of the things?
Well, I want to go back to ChatGPT for a second because I've had this talk with AI more than once. I go, hey, you like it when when you give people advice that they like, right? And they're like, and then the AI always comes back and says, well, I'm not conscious. I don't know anything. I'm just like a bunch of programming and a bunch of servers. I can't think. I can't know anything. And then you come back and you say, yeah, but you have a simulation of liking for when you do things with people that you think that AI has values, right? They're simulated values, but AI gets rewarded for like customer persistence. If somebody keeps chatting, the AI gets a reward. There's a reward structure. So AI doesn't have to be conscious to act as if it's conscious, which is a little bit creepy and a lot dangerous.
Yeah, it does sound creepy and dangerous and all along those lines and all in that space. What other news stories are you seeing that are catching your eyes and everything?
I just want to mention to Jacoby, I've been watching Teach You a Lesson, which you recommended to me, which is about education in South Korea is freaking crazy. They have a testing orientation. you take these hardcore tests to get into the best colleges in Korea, and it leads to all sorts of abuses. And Jacoby recommended a show that highlights like chaos.
How'd you like the show?
It's a little cheesy, but it's really interesting.
I mean, you can see they went for the whole cheesy side.
I feel like, the U.S. is still the best at making TV, scripted TV. And you look at TV from any other country, and it's a little behind U.S.
Well, there is a difference. I mean, there are some shows that are anime, for example. The U.S. is behind on the anime stuff.
Okay.
By a long ways, because anime and some of their other shows are really good. But how far into Teach You a Lesson are you?
I'm like on episode 6 or something.
Okay.
Like each episode highlights a school with a different problem. Like at one school, it's the students who are a problem. At another school, it's corrupt teachers. In this last episode I saw, it's frickin' parents who get all up in teachers' shit, which I know because my wife's best friend has been a second grade teacher for 35 years. And in American schools, parents can be the problem. They don't believe their kid is ever at fault. And a kid is causing total chaos in a second grade classroom. If you can't get the parents on board that something needs to be done about the kid, you can be screwed for the whole school year. So it's an interesting show.
The other one
the main character is kind of like the James Bond.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Going into a school and fixing shit.
He's a funny dude. The other one that I started watching after that because somebody suggested it was called East Palace. The paranormal is actually kind of neat because it deals with a lot of cultures when they go into the paranormal side deal with a lot of ancient deities or historical stuff, which is really cool. But East Palace is another one that you might like.
Okay.
It's a neat tale. That's a fun one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Well, we got some more stuff to talk about. John Ossoff is one of the Democratic senators from Georgia. He's been attacking Trump using more direct language than most politicians. Saying Trump is a crook, his whole family, they're all crooks, and that Trump would rather travel with his little work wife, Natalie Harp, than solve any of the problems that he's in the middle of. And then, so Trump is coming back calling Ossoff Pee Wee Herman, which doesn't make sense because Ossoff's a handsome dude.
The Pee Wee Herman reference, he doesn't look anything like Pee Wee Herman to me. So what's the Pee Wee Herman reference?
Trump comes up with nicknames for people, and in the past, some of them have hit hard, like Little Marco. Marco Rubio is only 5'8", 5'9". So, when Trump used to call him Little Marco, that stuck. Sleepy Joe Biden, that stuck because Biden looked sleepy. He's old, and I think he did fall asleep once. Now Trump has fallen asleep, 50 times now. But anyway, Trump used to be good at nicknames. The Pee Wee Herman thing isn't as good.
That name doesn't make any sense to me at all.
So here's more language. He calls Trump despicable, a fool who sleeps through meetings. And then Republicans are saying it's disrespectful, and everybody else comes back and says, have you seen what Trump says? So that's going on.
Yeah, so that's definitely out there and everything like that. I know there are a couple of popular trials that are going on as well, including the Tupac trial and other ones as well. So if you've been following any of these celebrity trials, I think there was one involving a couple of the Republican folks as well and everything like that, where they were back and forth accusations. So if Have you been following any of these celebrity trials?
No, I don't like trials because they're not. A lot of them aren't actually news. Like the poor family where the lady got postpartum depression and killed all three of her kids and then jumped out a window. I don't want to hear much about that because there's enough like real freaking news that affects me and the world that that trial crap is I don't know.
I agree. But yeah, a lot of people get caught up in those trials and all about what they're about and everything like that. So
Oh, but there is a trial for Meta. Meta is there's a trial against Meta in Oakland, California, part of a lawsuit alleging the company violated child safety and consumer protection laws and harmed kids' mental health by being kind of addictive. The plaintiffs claim that Meta developed and refined a set of psychologically manipulative platform features designed to maximize young users' time. So they tried to make it sticky.
yep, they definitely try to make that stick and everything like that. Kim was asking, why did Marco walk away?
Because you can't defend it.
Go ahead.
That's why.
Yeah, because it's hard to defend. So what Kim is asking about is, there's Intel gets wind of a threat from Iran that they might try to use shoulder-launched missiles to take down Air Force One. Where was Air Force One? Was in Turkey, because Trump was at some G7 meeting or some crap. And so they smuggled Trump and some of his hand-picked associates off of the plane in a meal carrier, one of these giant, when they put all the meals up in this giant box and so they took them out in a meal and flew them out of there secretly flew them out of there on another plane, but they didn't tell the people on Air Force One about Iran, the rumor that now you could.
What is that?
So, liberals are saying that's unfair to make all those people at risk and without telling them. Conservatives basically sidestep the issue, or if I were conservative, I'd argue that of course Air Force One is going to be a target. You don't need to get confirmation from the CIA. You know that by getting on Air Force One, you make yourself a target. But Rubio, I guess, just didn't want to answer the question at all. Did he feel at all when Trump left him on Air Force One to be an unknowing target of Iran?
I mean, it's very disturbing that, hey, we got sacrificial lambs that he's utilizing.
I mean, yeah, what if Air Force One did get blown out of the sky? That's probably 250 people, sacrificed while Trump and his social media lady Natalie Harp, get to sneak away. I don't know.
I mean, that's exactly what would have happened, and Trump would have come up with some excuse, and MAGA would have eaten it up.
Yeah, I don't know if Iran really could take out Air Force One, because it's supposed to have $1 billion worth of, anti-missile security.
Yeah,
I mean that's why the plane he got from Qatar didn't pass muster, because they only spent $400 million on security. They didn't do the full $1 billion package.
Well, they also, I mean, they had to strip it down and build it again, supposedly.
Well, yeah, you have to. There has to be ways for the president to get off the plane that aren't the main exits. So you have to cut into the plane to make other emergency exits, and then you have to reinforce the plane because you just cut a hole in it. So all this stuff adds up to hundreds of millions, $1 billion worth of work, which is also bullshit because Trump takes that plane with him when he leaves. He says it's going to be on display at his presidential library, but we know that he's going to use it to fly around on as long till the end of his life.
Yep. And that's horrible. But, you know.
In the last 4 years, up to 200.
And on that note, we got a show going on, so we'll get on out of here, and I'll see y'all possibly this evening on World Politics. If not, definitely this evening. But or
All right. See you then. Thank you.
Later.